Hello to my fellow KW stakeholders. Of course, it's Aaron Kaufman, self-titled Chief Stakeholder Evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia. And today we are bringing you another episode of the My 401KW interview series where we talk to our top profit share earners and stakeholder-minded associates. And today we got a treat for you because we got my girl, one of my favorite people in KW, the fabulous, radiant, Mahogany Rhodes. How you doing today, Mahogany?
Well, darling, if that's not an introduction, I am fabulous in cold 50-degree California. And,
Oh,
and we're
poor you in California. Well, people don't know, Mahogany, how much of a romance you and I have. You and I have been great friends for a long time. We feel very strongly about KW Profit Share and its connection to culture. And I know you have a very unique perspective, just not just on profit share and culture, but on KW and our value proposition. So look, before we jump into all of that, and let's keep in mind there are people watching, Mahogany, so we can't have one of our no nonsense conversations like we normally have. But
okay.
but we will have fun and we will push the limits, okay?
Absolutely.
But Mahogany, let's go back. Okay, let's go back to before you were in real estate. Let's find out who you were, how you got into real estate, how you joined KW, and let's kind of go through that process first. All right.
Okay. So my career before real estate was fitness and nutrition. Some people know I was an amateur bodybuilder, nutrition specialist. California makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Lots of money. I had a great time. And I found myself, and I also grew up in real estate. My parents have always owned multifamilies, bought the first property when my mom was pregnant with me. I grew up taking care of the property, so it was in the background,
Yep.
construction. But anyway, I found myself in love, 6'2", 210 pounds, and I ended up in Atlanta
Yep.
in 1999. And at the time, that's when personal training was becoming almost like a fast food job. So
Yep.
things were shifting, things were changing. And I knew I kind of was past that. And I looked around and said, well, what could I do? What could I do? What would transport? And I still like the freedom, being my own business person,
Yep.
that kind of thing. And it just hit me one day, well, real estate. I thought I knew real estate before I went to school, but I was comfortable in it. And so I thought about it, got my license. Fun fact, the first time I attempted to get a Georgia license, I actually didn't pass. Had a lot going on. My grandma, people told me don't take it. Did
Yep.
it anyway. A year later, buckled down, took the test, and then sat on the results for 3 months. Had no idea what I was going to do with it. Some of the brands that you recognize, blue and white, the balloon, all of those, I knew because I'm a little like you. We're a little different. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say renegades, but we're different. And I was like, they'll put me out the first week. I know it. I'll say something. And I just wouldn't. So the irony is that I am at Keller Williams mainly because of the connection of one of the worst people I ever went out on a date with.
Tell us about it. You have to tell us about the date. But tell us about, yeah.
The person was, so when I was getting my license, anything and everything that could happen to you happened that winter. Keller, there was winter of 2002. It
Yep.
was the coldest. It was ice. It was snow. I was living in DeKalb, and my engine went out on my car. So now I'm working at a gym. I'm catching the bus to Sandy Springs to get my license. I
Yep.
had clients who were helping me, and this one guy wanted to go out with me. But in those days, if you wanted to spend time with Mahogany, it was either going to or from class or work.
Right.
I didn't have time for the funny stuff. And he was not understanding. He was just, ugh. But one day he said, you took your test. There's a lady in my BNI group. Had never heard of BNI. That she says they're looking for new agents. Well, I didn't like him much, so I didn't want to be in association with anybody he knew. Birds of a feather, right?
Sure.
Well, that wonderful person is Joy Moore.
Okay.
But what happened was I used to keep a journal, and every few weeks when I would say, what am I going to do about this real estate license? The book would fall off the shelf, and that page with her name and Keller Williams would open up. By the fourth or fifth time, I said, it's a hint. It's a hint. Called her. She was actually going out of the country. So she talked to me a little bit. I thought she was so awesome. I don't know if you know her. Amazing.
Mahogany, she gave you the MREA book, is what I'm assuming. When you is that or did you
That's
have
how it started. Well, this is when Gary was doing the touring,
Yep.
right? And so she said, I tell you what, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to have a friend look out for you. Her name was Cecilia Labossiere. And so I walked into First Atlanta.
Yep.
Cecilia gives me the book. I had been in communication with the famous Sean Rawls. In my mind, I thought it was a woman. Sorry, Sean, I didn't know. And he's at the front desk with this amazing front desk person, Miss Georgia. And then he looks at me and he says, my email at the time was chocolatebarbie@yahoo. I wondered what a chocolate Barbie looked like. I said, okay, now you're calling me that.
Yeah.
And the energy in that space was amazing. We went over to the Cobb Gallery, I think it was, and Gary Keller and Dave Jinks, rest in peace, was there. Dave even signed my book. I have the OG self-published book.
Amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
And I didn't know what what was choosing me or I was choosing, but I knew I had to be with these people. Yeah. And then Gary was saying made so much sense. I could just develop my own under an umbrella of business. And that was April 1st, 2003. And I said, well, April Fool's Day, either this is a heck of a joke.
Yep.
Or it's the best decision I made in my life. I choose door number 2 for $50.
That's amazing. And, look, I interviewed Sean earlier.
Yeah.
And people know that he was my OP when I came to KW. And, First Atlanta is the Rawls group.
He was my team leader.
Yeah.
Imagine learning under like Sean and everybody.
Yeah.
Because the region was down the hall.
Yeah. Bob and Kay.
Every day, Bob. Yeah, I got it earnest and honest every day. So that's how I ended up here.
Well, how lucky were you to, come to KW? And by the way, turn your volume down just a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay. Is that better?
How lucky are we, right, to not only join KW before the secret really got out about KW, but to join it in the Southeast region, which has been the number one region for KW for who knows 2 decades, to be in a top ownership group's office with probably one of the top leaders at the time, top 5 leaders in KW, which was Sean Rawls. So you joined KW, it felt right. Everything was in alignment with you. And so did you just start taking off, or was it a process for you to kind of get going in real estate?
Oh no. Because remember, I'm not from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And everyone that knew me in fitness.
Yeah.
Or just, around the city.
Sure.
It took me 6 months, I think, before my first deal.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Sure.
Spent a lot of the checks that my father had given me that were playing.
Yeah.
But what was happening was, and this is what was the fortune. It was a time when still independent, but there were standards and ways in place, expectations to get you where you need to go.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, I remember if a new agent, you had to attend 3 out of the 4 team meetings a month. That's where you get your information.
Yeah.
Where you get the classes. It was always the classes, the training and all of that. But I had within probably 3 months, I had my first, in retrospect, I would call my first culture experience. I had finally gotten one of my personal training clients had given me her sister. So I had a new buyer, didn't know what to do. And I was in our little teeny training room. I said, what am I supposed to give them? This buyer guide I'd heard about. And someone walked past without saying a word, slid me a copy of theirs. I didn't find out till weeks later. It was Erica. I can't think of her last name. It was an agent in the office.
Yeah.
Remember, we were the only ones that you didn't have to reinvent anything. We gave, we shared, and you just take it and make it yours. So it took me longer to get to a check, but I was progressing along the way. Yeah. And that was because they were making sure you got what you needed.
And so, what was that conversation like, Mahogany? I mean, a lot of people, don't understand when they join KW that they're joining not just a market center, but a company, right? Of agents that are actually vested in a true common goal and have a real incentive to work together and care about each other. Was that more of a feeling that you got, or was it a conversation that Sean and the leadership of that office were fostering to make sure that people understood why we're different?
I think at that time,
yeah,
was a feeling. It was how we conducted ourselves. It just was from the person at the desk, Miss Georgia.
Yeah.
And I heard, I don't know, but I heard that Sean would kind of check with her after an interviewee left. How did that person treat you? How did they address you?
Like that, yeah.
He was protecting the energy and culture. And there were many times when these big agents would come in and they would be a little condescending, maybe to the front desk of the regular person, and then grin. He protected the culture.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that he made choices. I feel lucky now that I'm saying it, that he chose to let me in, right? And it wasn't elitist, not at all. It just was about, are you a right fit? Because this is how we navigate. We take care of each other. We share with each other. And it just happened.
Absolutely. And Mo, you know as much as I do that KW culture doesn't work unless you got the right who. Right. I mean, we all have the same model to work off of, but not every office has, super abundant ownership, present servant leaders, and more importantly, Mo, agents, top agents that are willing to teach classes, share ideas. So, I think that's, it's not a coincidence that you and I came out of Atlanta, Georgia, right? I mean, there's a reason that, I've dedicated my life to growing this company for the last 2 years, or last 20 years, is that after my experience at Caldwell Banker, which was a good company, coming to KW, I just realized, oh my God, I saw Gary Keller speak. I saw Dave Jenks speak. I got to deal with Sean Rawls. I was like, this is it. I mean, this company is literally about to take over the entire industry. And, for me, I get a little frustrated when I talk to KW associates that are not having that experience at a high level, because ultimately, if you're not having a high level experience at KW, who cares how much money you can make in profit share, right? And I think there's a direct connection, obviously, between the experience you have in a local market center and your desire to want to be purposeful about profit share. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, here's what I'll add to that. Certainly, the setup, if you will, the environment, these market centers, and remember, in my tenure, I've been on the other side having to provide the value.
Sure. Oh, sure.
Yep. Is there, but also, who are you when you walk through the doors?
Yeah.
And what is interesting is that in the 20 years, even how as real estate professionals we are viewed, and we view ourselves in the entree of all the shows and the $1 million this, that, and the other. I think in a lot of ways we have to share the responsibility, right? You can't, as an agent, have your hands looking up like a cup. We have to show up and actually pour into this thing we call culture.
Absolutely. No question about it. It's just a word. It has no value. If you don't ever come into the office, you never teach a class, you don't seek out knowledge and referrals outside your market center, you don't donate to KW Cares, participate in Red Day, you don't care about the profitability of your office and the culture of it.
If you don't conduct yourself in a way that, when you're in these real estate streets, you're representing me.
Yeah.
You're representing the next person. It's all a collective. And when you have agents that think like that, along with the abundant mindset market center, those are the ones that really thrive.
Yeah. And Mahogany, when we have the right people in place, and look, it's top down. Okay. It starts at KWRI, it moves to regional leadership, and then it moves down to the market centers. But when you have the right people in place, success is an inevitability. And what that ends up doing is that it gives you leverage, okay, in an industry that has such low standards to get into. And so not only do these Atlanta market centers, not only the most profitable market centers in KW with the best culture, they have the most leverage. They don't need to hire everybody that walks in the door with a real estate license. Just because you're a top agent in another company doesn't mean you operate with a high level of integrity and are going to be a fit for our culture. And let's get real, Mahogany. You're only worth $15,000 in company dollar to the market center. So we're more than happy to find somebody else that can replace you. And I just think that's important, that people need to understand that so many great things come out of following our models and our culture, because what happens is now you've created a market center nobody wants to leave or needs to leave. And then you have the leverage to decide who you're going to get into business with, right?
Yep, absolutely. It is.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. I'm fortunate. I witnessed team leaders, not just Sean, Jerry, all the team leaders in my market center be able to make that choice, to have that leverage. They didn't let anybody in the door. And again, not from an elitist standpoint, but understanding, do you understand what we've built here and what we're building?
Absolutely.
Because everybody is worth the same on paper, dollars and cents. So this was, you remember, we were the first company that you couldn't do the prima donna thing.
Yeah.
You had a name, that's nice.
Right.
But, you know, even as a matter of fact, what I've gone on to when I've taught pre-license or coached or whatever, you know, when I talk to brand new agents, I say, listen, I know probably in your mind, you're thinking, please, or I'm just nobody. I'm like, no, you're worth the same thing to me right now, even before your first transaction. And I learned that here.
Yeah.
That's the thing that matters.
And what we want, Mahogany, is more of our fellow stakeholders to understand that, right? Because if I can help turn a non-capper into a capper, not only is that generating company dollar for the market center that I'm vested in financially, I don't know, my guess is, call me crazy, I'm going to turn that agent into a Raven fan for this company that I'm a stakeholder in. And so, you know, you and I always talk about it takes a village, right? It takes a village, right? I mean, there's only one team leader. There's only one OP. They can't be holding everybody's hands. And you know, what makes us so unique, and I think particularly different from a revenue sharing company that is trying to act like they're like KW, is that, you know, revenue share only creates a downline relationship. Profit share creates a culture of sharing company-wide. And Mahogany, you know, you and I, our downlines are in, you know, a lot of market centers. We are vested financially in the success of all of the agents in those market centers. And I think that's the conversation that you and I believe is being lost a little bit in KW, is that you can't talk profit share without talking culture, and you can't talk culture without talking profit share, right?
I remember when Mo used to say, profit share is culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Being in profit is culture. So it's all connected.
And if you ain't profitable,
you ain't in culture.
Exactly. Now let's go back. So you're 6 months in, you're closing your first deal. Let's talk about the evolution of Mahogany Rhodes within KW, because you've had quite a journey so far. Yeah. Talk about what happened after that.
So you know, a couple of deals, getting it going, if you will. I even remember when I had my first celebrity. It did not close, but I remember I went to Sean and I didn't tell him who it was, but I told him the price, and he said, "You bring that to me. Let me help you take on everything." Again, culture moment. But I went on very early. I was a regular agent. But one of the things I did naturally was anyone who came to KW, First Atlanta, because of me, I used to have a thing I called Saturday School. Some folks watching may remember that, where I just would bring in already the resources I had, even though we had amazing training, the 30, 60, 90, all of that stuff. But I knew what it felt like to take so long to get to that first check. So we'll try to help and fast track. And again, like you say, that's not a requirement of sponsoring someone.
Sure. But it was smart business.
But it was something, because they were right there. And remember, people took me under their wing. So that's all I was doing, was modeling what I had been shown.
Absolutely.
Right. So at the same, probably by year 3, maybe 2, I became part of leadership at the Atlanta board. And at the time, I was the only KW person. Oh, that was rough.
I bet. Yeah.
It was rough over there. But here's the thing, and this is why I always stand on how you navigate and how you present matters. It was probably the most pivotal person that came under me, saw me at the board. Representation matters, saw what I was doing in leadership, volunteer, whatever. And he heard about profit share. Once he came over, heard about profit share, and he really bought into this as an opportunity, and he went crazy. But it started with, I just started to represent us in the streets.
Yeah.
Because that was the time when all of the brokers were telling all kind of crazy stories
Of course.
about us.
Of course.
I think we were a cult one year, right?
Yeah.
But just the nuttiness. But
Well, they just knew, Mahogany. They knew their time was up, right? There's a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff was the only company that was willing to acknowledge that agents are the reason we do business, not brand marketing. And they knew that their days were done. And I heard the same things at my former company about KW. And I think that's the exciting thing. Mo, a lot of people, and one of my favorite lines from you, and I've stole it. Okay. I've stole it. I've made it my own. I'll give you a shout out on it when I say it. But, you say we're on the third generation of Keller Williams all the time. Right. And I just think that there's I got to guess at least 80% of our people don't know what it's like to be Keller who, right? They just think this is the way it is, right? They don't know what it's like to be the new kid on the block, to have to fight for your reputation, right? And had to convince people that we were legitimate. And I tell you what, Mahogany, I wouldn't trade those days for anything, right? Because that's what made us who we are today, right? Yeah.
In retrospect, that's the golden era.
Yeah.
And just, when I say we're on the third generation, we are.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful thing, but also I always say we have to do a better job of making sure the story, the history is shared.
Yep.
Because like anyone who's walked into KW in the last 5-6 years, they walked into number one.
Yeah.
You didn't walk in. What were we, number 6 or 7?
Yeah, sure.
We lived the days of, remember when they kept calling the commission on us and we were changing signs, commando style on the weekend. It was just everything they could do. And at the same time, so this is in the city, and at the same time, KW Cares began to watch what that really is. KW Cares is far more than your market center asking you to give some money per transaction.
Sure.
I've been fortunate enough to watch enough disasters or needs where I watch us mobilize better than any other organization in the world.
Absolutely.
Like Florida, when we sent a truck and got there faster than the NFL.
Yeah.
We took care of our family. And those are the kind of things that I think, because it's so regular now, that people miss out. Like when we talk about Red Day, it's not put on a red shirt and say happy birthday, Mo. There's a reason why we do it and why we're giving back and connected. All of those things matter.
Well, I got to tell you, Mo, one of the best things about what I get to do for a living is, I travel around in North America teaching my class. And, I was just in like Fort Myers, Florida a couple of months ago, where Hurricane Ian blew through there a year ago. I've been to Joplin, Missouri after the tornado, giant, F5 tornado destroyed their market. I taught in Maui. Okay. And I'm just saying, I always kind of say this in my class when I'm in an area that hasn't had a natural disaster. I'm like, you don't understand how powerful the KW culture is until you need it. Okay. Exactly. I think a lot of people, they haven't needed KW Cares, or they don't see it. They don't know, they don't hear the stories. And so they don't think it's something that they should contribute to or participate in. But
they don't know what it is. It just sounds like white. And I'll even like, that's the big thing. We've grown that really large. But what makes KW Cares culture and the financial support so great is because locally the market centers participate, because it starts now. That's where it starts, from the bottom. And even when you don't need KW Cares, that culture of giving a darn matters. Like true story, my first true deep culture experience inside my market center was probably year 3. It was some kind of training. It was regional. We were at the Cobb Galleria, and I get a call from a surgeon talking about my mother won't go into surgery until I get back home. What is happening? And so I dropped everything.
That's where you got your stubbornness from, I'm assuming, your mom?
No, my dad. I would show video of him, but
I understand.
FCC rules.
Yeah.
So no, but what happened was, so I rushed home, of course, and she's fine now, but it was very scary. And at the time, I was VP of either government affairs or finance at the board. And I didn't tell anybody what was happening. I just flew home to her, but then I had obligations here. Get that tenacity.
Yeah.
And I remember, based on her situation, I didn't know how, because I'm an only child, how I was going to go back and forth, what was going to happen. So I remember going into the office. It was a Saturday, and I had been I was back in town, and I had been just on adrenaline, and then it hit me. And in that small training room, I literally just broke down, tears. No one's there. So I'm like, how am I going to do it? And I took a deep breath. And I think the trust was based on little help that I had gotten along the way. And I sent out an email, and I said, listen, I don't know what I'm up against, but if anybody has airline miles or anything, I need help. I pushed the button, 30 seconds. Sean Rawls is on my phone.
Yep.
What do you need?
Yep.
What do you need? That's KW Cares on the local level, right? How we treat each other. And he put me in touch with this person. So I was able to get a ticket. And then other agents were like, listen, I have 50,000 miles, just only use 25. Found out later, this woman gave me the miles she was using to go see her terminally ill mother.
Yeah.
That is the culture on the deepest level. It doesn't, we've had all kind of little things. It's not always the big stories. It's just how we care day to day, right? We care about if people are making money and they're profitable, right? Because there's a difference between making money and being in profit. And then how is your life?
Exactly.
Because we talk about this is a place where you can really build a big life and a life worth living, right? A legacy worth leaving. And unlike any other company, this is not the company that tells you to work yourself till you're in the grave.
Yep.
And that is what I loved about Gary. When I said, wait a minute, you pull out the calendar and I pick my vacation time first? Oh, talk nice to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, because up until this point, what do we think? Business, being an entrepreneur, or being in real estate mean 24/7, matter of fact, 28/9, all the time, craziness. And this too was a different message. If you build a business like a business person, you can have a great life, and this business funds it. Had never heard anything like that.
No doubt. And look, in honor of telling our story and keeping it going, Mahogany, look, our culture is amazing. There's some amazing people at KW with big hearts. And, but I think it's fair to say there are amazing people at other companies too, with big hearts.
Absolutely.
At buying a teamwork. The question ultimately is going to be, why is it different at KW? Why is our culture inherently different? And once again, just to bring this full circle.
Yeah.
It's because our culture starts with profit share. And the reason why I donate money to KW Cares, the reason why I went to Mega Relief, is I'm a good person, but the other side of it is I'm a freaking stakeholder of this company. And, it's moments like this that when we step up as stakeholders, that we solidify our future in this industry and we protect our profit share legacies. Because Mo, when we do what we do, and people experience our culture at a high level, not only do they not leave our company, they become raving fans for KW. And I think people need to understand that everything in KW is strategic. Okay. I mean, look, God family business, right?
That part.
Why, how, what? It's the freaking golden circle. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. So I just want people to understand that, it's one thing to talk about culture. It's another thing to make people understand why it is inherently different, because everybody says they have culture. Ours is inherently different. And it's because we're vested financially in the success of our fellow stakeholders. That's why we teach classes. That's why we share ideas. And Mo, not everybody in KW buys into our culture. Not every KW market center is delivering on it at the highest level. But when all things are created equal and we have the right people in place, nobody can hold a candle to our culture because it's inherently different. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that. We agree on that.
I do too. And you and I are trying to spread that message right in the trenches. All right. Because I know you do it on a daily basis. So I'm just curious, going back, you were on the board. Is that how you kind of ended up attracting a lot of people to KW initially? Was just from being present and being an agent people respect and building relationships? Yeah.
It is because, Sandy Springs on the north side of the city. And I don't know the full history of the board, but I think as a woman of color, it'd be a great guess that I was going to be the first VP
Yeah.
of Keller. And again, it wasn't about that, just, representation matters. And so when they saw me walking around,
Yeah.
who is Mahogany? And
Yeah.
as we started to dig deep into who is Mahogany, who is she with, what are they doing over there? And still, and this is the thing too, we did then, even if someone was not part of our company, we still greet them and deal with them with the same culture minded sharing. And so that's what happened. I just ended up accidentally on a platform where people could see. And then again, and you never know who will really get it.
Exactly.
Person I would least expect, because he's very quiet, didn't say much, but he's so really connected to this idea of this is a retirement plan as a realtor, right? Because in our industry, you remember then when people would say, I've been doing this 58 years. Script keeper. We don't want that for our life. You're going to be in Puerto Rico. I decide I'm going to be in Bali. We got to do something different. And so, and then I modeled after someone else too. I remember in those days, before I could really tell my story, and eventually you have your own story with NKW. No one cares about the big stuff. It's what is your reason for being a Raven fan. But until I had that, other agents, not necessarily in my upline, would maybe help me interact with an agent that was interested. Maybe I had one that was like, listen, if you buy lunch, I'll come and talk. They had nothing to gain from that relationship, but they understood their stakeholders across the board. And so I began to model that specifically for people in my downline that didn't feel comfortable yet, or anybody. If you ask me, I will come and share what I know. And those days, the team leader breaks down the stuff. Don't ask me about how much. Don't ask me about that. But I can tell you why.
Yes.
And that's what we used to do that. Oh, man.
Absolutely. So you started having some success with profit share. You started to get opportunities within KW as a result of that to some extent, right? Because we always say, if you want to create opportunities at KW, start building your downline. That tends to get people's attention. But I don't know if that played a role in that, but talk about how you started to evolve into leadership and how that affected your mindset around profit share and being more intentional about it.
And let me, you and I have always very genuine. Profit share, the first few years, it wasn't impressive. I laughed one time. I got a check for 35 cents. I laughed. I didn't have the mindset I have now that represents something happened, because we didn't know. We really didn't know. Then and then I'll get to your question. When the market retreated, I like to talk about it positively. Remember how tight it was. There were times when the profit share started to inch up, paid my rent, kept me off the street. Paid gas in the car. It was little by little by little. But I think what happened is just my natural affinity for what I believe this company has given me, or the opportunities and who I've become. As I became more vocal and more willing to stand on what I think is important, which is a culture and preserving it. And I know that we throw the word around. I just became known, but I showed up as we, as a company, introduced our technology. I am the worst. I don't understand any of this, but what I am is like the town crier. You want me to know what's going on because 10 or 100 times more people will know. So the very first time, when you talk about leverage, first Atlanta was one of the test markets. When we first, remember E-Edge? And so when you are a movement, we were like, 1,200 agents at that point in the Rawls group. We got to test stuff out. I said, I'll do it. I'll be the tech trainer. I had to study. I had to learn because I'm not naturally inclined. But I kept stepping up in front of information because I didn't want to take the chance of it not getting to me later.
Exactly.
That's just real. And so I think in those relationships, people started to notice Mahogany, I suppose. I don't know. I've just been being myself. And then one day I started to kind of raise my head to say, well, wait a minute, what else could I do? Because I love houses. I don't love some of the nuttiness. I don't.
Sure.
And if you remember Rick Jihad.
Of course, God bless him. He just passed away. Yeah.
No, you know, we were birthday twins.
I didn't know that, but he was always very good to me back in the day.
Was amazing. I remember he did the business planning clinic, still my favorite course, next to 6 personal perspectives. And he had said one day, the best team leader he ever hired had only done 5 transactions. I said, say what? Because to this point, the industry, you think you have to be the one that sells the most to be worth anything. And I said, what? And I went on, that's how we became friends, to talk to him about it. I said, well, wait a minute. So I don't have to push to be something I don't want to be in order to be in my purpose in this company.
Exactly.
I just started to learn the stuff like crazy. Bowl became my thing, just all the stuff. I started to really live and breathe the education. And they will tell you, just tell people what your dreams are, what your aspirations are. Don't need a long story. You just say, listen, I'm curious. What does it take to be a team leader? What does it take to be a coach? Show up for yourself.
Yeah.
Because this is, at the base of it, an entrepreneur's haven, right? We've been around long enough. How many companies have we seen grow and thrive because someone saw a need?
Absolutely.
And a niche and answered a problem in our stratosphere.
Yep.
And came up and said, oh, that's cool. So, I mean, I think that's just what it is. And the hair, people started to know me from the hair.
Well, you know, they say it best, you know, Mahogany, it's not just about what you get, it's about who you become. And,
oh, absolutely.
You know, I haven't sold a house since February 2005. And I
remember when you
built myself a life by design through KW. And, you know, I'm so grateful for that. But, you know, once again, I look at this like there's just too many of our associates that are not taking advantage of all the things that we have to offer. And, you know, I know this is a business where, you know, there's a great saying, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But like Mo Anderson always says, you can give it salt and make it thirsty. And I think that's ultimately where you and I are coming from, is that we're trying to pass out the salt and, you know, to our fellow stakeholders so they get a little thirsty because they're going to want what we have to offer. So talk about how you're an agent. What was your first leadership opportunity with KW?
Okay. So now they revere the tech support or tech trainers as at that time, it just was help.
Yep.
And so did that actually as a just helping for a little bit. But then 10 years ago, I found myself needing to come back to Los Angeles. I'm an only child.
Yep.
Right. And so I got my license. I came here. I ended up in Brentwood. And here's the thing. When you are from the Southeast region, when you know how this works, you can't unknow it. Exactly. And so I come to California.
I love it.
I love y'all. I love you. I do, but you act real crazy sometimes. You on something else.
Yeah.
And I ended up I remember, this is how funny the tech training helped me. When I was deciding what market center to choose, I looked at their website. Yeah. And if their website looked like 2003, I could mess with them because you're not on the train. And I had that kind of context, right? Because even in 2003, a lot of agents don't know this. We were the first company to give agents that opportunity to brand themselves. It was 5 color choices for residential and 3 for commercial. Too much good stuff. Yeah. And then you flipped it up. So I remember I chose Brentwood, but I could tell, great team leader, great energy, loved it, but I could tell they were kind of behind in what I was used to. Yeah. So I started showing up as that. I was immediately asked to be on ALC, a warm out, because I also, under Mo, under K, learned how the ALC is supposed to work.
Yeah.
So yeah. In a year of, okay. Right. And so there I took on the tech trainer. Again, it wasn't official. And I started to teach some of the KW classes, not officially, but I was the one that knew it.
Yeah.
Then, but my first really promise of stepping into really meaningful leadership was when they were opening KW Inglewood. Mm. And that was going to be really essentially the first market center in the urban area here. Yeah. And I told the team leader, remember I said, tell your dreams. I said, it's important to me to be part of who's guiding. And she gave me a title, Director of Education. I don't even think it's official, but I wore that title like a badge of honor. I worked that calendar, got it right. Yep. did what we did. And then funny is right before the pandemic, she said, I promised you that when we grew to a certain number, we need a coach. You've been coaching. What do you want to do? So productivity coach at KW Inglewood was my first official. I'm a W-2 now.
That's awesome.
KW.
Yeah. And you were meanwhile you were doing, I'm assuming, referral business back in Atlanta.
Oh, absolutely.
All that stuff. Yeah.
Our referral business across the globe.
Yeah.
Yes, but definitely I had the beauty of so much of my downline in Atlanta, and certainly in First Atlanta, have, based on areas, kept business going for a little while. Yeah. And I used to fly back and forth. Remember that?
Yeah. I do. I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, since you're talking about Inglewood, and I want to ask you this anyways. I mean, as an African-American woman, okay. Yeah. What does it mean to you, the moment that we are in as a company, what people like Julia Lachey are doing, what Mark King believes in, this diversity, equity, and inclusion movement? Look at my good friend Merrill Johnson here in Atlanta, right? They opened up the West Atlanta office, which I'm going to be teaching at, I believe, next month. But, it's predominantly minority. Yeah. Oh, is it really?
And she's someone I went to breakfast with. Shaking.
Who's in your downline there?
Keisha Knight.
Okay, yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. Yeah. But what does it mean for you, particularly at a time, let's get real, Mahogany. We're slightly divided as a country these days. And I know it's hard to, look, it's hard to be a real estate agent. It's hard to be in the business 20 years. But my guess is it's probably a little bit harder to be an African-American woman on her own doing this. So just talk about what this kind of moment we are in. And I know you're participating in a lot of this stuff, but what does it mean to you under the umbrella of culture and where we are as a company, and what all this stuff means to you as an African-American woman in a company that's doing what we're doing right now?
And thank you for the question, because I get the question a lot, because it's very easy to look at it or to assume it's just.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? Yeah. But we're actually doing it. So let's look at real estate as a whole, right? For a long time, it was who you know that knows you at the right time, maybe whisper opportunities. There's no job board, and I've come to understand why. And so this pivot to actually, number one, making a pointed effort to prepare people for leadership opportunities. That's new and that's exciting. Yeah. Even though I was already in it, I stepped back and did some of the coursework, definitely agent of distinction, all those different things. It shows that we are very serious, like every other aspect. When we said we were the best training company, remember that year we won an award for training, and it wasn't because it was real estate, it was because it was training. Yep. It proves that it's just not lip service. Yeah. And as a Black woman who always worry, even under this great company, always worry, did I miss opportunities? Was I given opportunities because I didn't know certain people? It just feels like the playing field is open.
Yeah, it's not even yet. It's not even yet, but it's open. It's making progress, right?
It's wonderful progress. Yeah. It's open. This is a time where all you have to do, the first thing is, that you just raise your hand. Yeah. Are you interested? Now, I'm always hold folks accountable. If a position, an opportunity is something you want, even if it is not now, you start preparing and you show up as if it's now. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. It is, as a woman of color, I've always known I had to always be better prepared, stack the education, just be knowledgeable. And right now we have so many resources that we've always been an open book company, but we didn't know maybe what to ask about, right? There's no hiding behind numbers, but now we recognize we have mentors, if you will, or people that you can say, what was your path? Yeah. Still in keeping with culture, because we've always said, oh, you want to know how I did this? This is it. Isn't that the next iteration of culture? Exactly. So it is again, foundationally, how I started is why I'm unrecruitable. Yeah. Right. I've had real experiences, not just yay, KW, but right now, I think that if someone has a dream to be maybe in leadership or another position and it doesn't happen, if they didn't pursue it, you gotta look in the mirror.
Exactly.
You let people know, you gotta look in the mirror, because the opportunities, this is, love Gary, love every leader I've been under. It's been amazing. But let me tell you about how I feel about right now. This is the first time I felt that this company, as a company, has such an open door policy in terms of accessibility.
Yep.
Right? Because we always had amazing leadership. Yay, Mark Willis is back. You don't even know how excited I am.
Yeah.
But you felt like they were in Austin. They were there.
Yep.
But now we have even Mark, is everybody. Look, Mark and Sanjay, all of them is so accessible.
Exactly.
They're in the positions to help us achieve whatever that life you want to design.
Exactly.
Go get it. The information is not hidden.
Totally. And
exciting as a Black.
More of a Mark King fan. I mean, not only is he a profit share purist, okay,
yeah.
When there's some, not everybody is in alignment with our goals for profit share and KW. But what people don't understand, hopefully, I don't know if they understand about Mark or not, but I mean, he was born on the wrong side of the tracks. Okay,
he got it from the mud.
He says it himself. He was poor white trash. Okay, and what people don't understand, or hopefully they will understand, is that K-Score is Mark King's baby, and the main reason that we do K-Score is to give the opportunity to get into real estate to lower income minority people that have that's always been their big obstacle to get into real estate, was just the cost of licensing. And I just think people need to understand, not only is, Mark Willis just said on the growth call the other day, he said, we're going to have a new commitment to going after new agents, which I think is funny, Mahogany, because back in the day when I was recruiting new agents, a lot of market centers would tell me we don't take new agents. And I'm like, you do understand you're a cap model. Okay. I just want to make sure why you don't want new agents. But anyways, we're making a new, a new commitment to new agents. K-Score is going to be a huge part of that. But people need to understand that we're really doing that, not just to grow KW, but to really break down the barriers that have kept. I mean, this is, real estate has always been what's kind of kept a lot of minorities and lower income families from growing their wealth, right? Not just getting into real estate, but what happens with trying to get a loan and buying a house and all that stuff. So to be a part of that change gets me excited about KW.
I love it. And if I had any wish for associates to really connect to that, because I'm telling you what it reminds me of. I remember in the days before the market retreated, when FHA loans were frowned upon.
Yeah.
The assumption was that if you needed that, then you're lower income, you shouldn't do it, and which was totally wrong. That was elitist, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is that we have a lot of folks in this country that work hard, pay their bills, very responsible, raise their families, but when they finish, that extra little bit of money is not there, and it's at all levels.
Yeah.
Right. Someone can make $200,000 and still end up feeling broke based on whatever their spending is. I know Mark would have a long talk with him if that was the case. But this, with the K-Score, and I was so excited when he started to kind of flush this out, is that we don't know where people are in life. We don't know what their income is, but if the cost of school is the barrier to get a great opportunity, his goal is to remove that.
Yeah.
And remove that.
Yep.
And it's real. Sometimes it is that simple. You have kids and they keep growing. You just bought shoes yesterday and they keep growing. It's real. And I was fortunate enough. Inglewood was one of the first market centers here to embrace that. And I did the K-Score program. And it was when we were trying to figure out really how to do it. But I had the fortune to have conversations. I used to really interview and have conversations. And I wish Mark could hear how excited people were. Maybe they don't all finish, but the idea that someone took a moment to care if they had the opportunity. I've had conversations with people who are in tears just because someone cared.
Exactly.
K-Score is huge.
And I think, it's interesting, Mahogany, not to go too deep into the lawsuits that we just, but I do want people to understand one of the reasons Gary Keller went into court, and Gary Keller was the one fighting for this. It was not just to protect agents, but I actually realized, because I heard Julia Lachey say something about how if buyers have to pay their commissions, low income minority buyers, right? I mean, the difference between them qualifying for a loan and being able to buy a house with them having to pay the buyer's commission, right? Like it's actually could indirectly, right, lead to less minorities having the chance to buy homes.
Absolutely. It will increase the wealth gap.
Yeah, that's why Gary Keller and Mark King and everybody is so vigilant about this. Is that it's not just about the agents; it's about equity, okay, and inclusion, and this
the industry
unintended consequences that come out of that affect the ability for minorities and low income people to buy houses, right? And that's why we care, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why yesterday, I think it was yesterday, did I read the article? I literally just took a moment and I just did.
Yeah.
For Gary. I mean, and this is what I mean about we're in the third generation and we have to tell the story. I think Gary works from a point of integrity and vision. However, we need to make sure our associates understand every time he stood 10 toes down for the ages, because I was fortunate enough, last year I was in Austin for a class and he stepped in and I said, I always want to tell you to your face, first of all, thank you for being a man of integrity, but also when Gary says this is how we're moving and this is why, I don't question it, not because I've drunk any other Kool-Aid, but because his record is clear.
Exactly.
Right? Think about how he is the one that protected our data.
Yep.
He is the one, and every time it's not the popular opinion, but he has stood. And so when I read, made that decision, I said the visionary understands the rippling effect in this industry, and it would change everything. It would affect the wealth gap is already there, and then also as agents, as associates, it would affect our ability to be in business because if our buyers can't buy, we don't close the deal.
Well, people need to understand that Gary's not just the real estate agent advocate of our industry. He's the real estate consumer advocate too. And if he didn't believe having a local relationship driven fiduciary agent at the center of the transaction was best for the consumer, we wouldn't be fighting this fight. And I think, I always tell people, Mahogany, how are you possibly going to be able to communicate where we're going if you don't know where we came from? I mean, literally, like if you don't know the story, if you don't know how we have disrupted this industry and what our DNA is, then you can't possibly. And that's the thing about profit share, Mahogany, is that it's an investment, right? It's an investment of not just time and potentially money. It's an investment of reputation. Okay.
Oh, yes.
When we refer people to KW offices, hey, it reflects on us. And by the way, not every KW office is created equal. And sometimes when I refer somebody to a KW market center that's not in model or in culture, I don't feel good about that, But what I'm saying is that, when you understand who we are and who Gary Keller is, and look, Gary, God bless him. I hope he figures out a way to take his brain and put it on a robot's body so that he can live forever. All right. But someday Gary Keller ain't going to be running Keller Williams, and Mo Anderson's not going to be in her position. And, I am going to be living in the Caribbean being a pirate. Okay. Yeah. What I care about, Mo, is not my next check. Okay. Yeah. What I care about is the legacy that I'm building. Okay. And look, I don't have kids, but there are people on this call that have kids that are purposeful about profit share. Don't you care what this is going to look like 10, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And so when you and I talk about the third generation of KW and culture, right, what we understand is that what we're thinking about, Mahogany, is how do we protect this legacy, right? Because if we just keep doing this right, and growth is messy, and I think one of the reasons the tone from leadership around KW has changed over the last 5-6 years is that we felt a little bit of pain, right? I mean, when you and I joined KW for the first 10, 15 years, we were a rocket ship of success. There was no challengers. There was no competition. Now we have some new flashy objects. We've got, a shifting industry. I'm just saying, as long as we keep our true north, which I believe we have refound after the growth initiative, which was great.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
sometimes growth is messy. And if you don't tell your story really well while you're growing exponentially, sometimes there are some challenges there. But I feel like we've recalibrated and we've found our true north again. And I kind of feel like, we're about to, take the next great step as a company, but we had to feel a little bit of that pain.
Of course, growth,
that change, right?
Any type of rebirth or birth has pain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Physically, mentally, what have you. But something you say a lot, as a matter of fact, is what started me really thinking about attracting people to the company. When you talk about we have to really recruit our agents that are already here, our associates, our stakeholders that are here, to really understand, like you, I don't have children, but this is my legacy.
Right.
The lives that I've been able to change by introducing them to this opportunity, and therefore their children's and children, exactly. And it will change. For all of us, it is the legacy of this industry. Remember, Keller Williams history is changing even the way agents made money, because before KW, the other people, yum, 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was no cap, right? Yum, like Pac-Man.
Right.
We've changed everything. And the key is, if it's working for you and it's taking care of your family and you're having a wonderful life, don't you want to continue that?
Exactly.
And other people enjoy that and generations enjoy that? I would think yes. I would think that the thing of it is, what has changed since we entered KW? So much in the world, right? Remember, we were here when the phone, you paid per minute. So those conversations were short, buddy.
I had an 800 number back in the day when I was doing internet recruiting. I didn't want people to have to pay long distance to call me.
I know, right? Yeah. But it's so much, and it's a different consumer too, right? Yeah. They know more. They think they know it all. It's somewhere in between that. It's very funny.
Right. And they have, and for many of them, their low opinions of real estate agents and the power of disruptors.
Yeah.
A lot of them are saying, hey, I'm just going to do it without an agent because I have access to the information, right? Because unfortunately, a lot of agents don't provide the value that they need to provide to earn.
The confusion is the consumer thinks the information is finding a house. Listen, you can put a 12-year-old on a skateboard. They can go find a pretty house. Said nothing.
Yeah.
It's about getting the deal done. And that is where, and I'm spoiled. See, we trained in the best area.
Yeah.
When you can communicate what you do, it's not a problem. Just where is the value? Because I remember when our industry was so afraid that now that MLS, the information was on the interweb, that they would need us. We would go the way of travel agents.
Yep.
Didn't happen because matter of fact, and I was one of those that fought it. I love it when my clients do all the hours playing on the internet and looking at stuff and driving by. Good. Tag me when it's real.
Right.
Because now you have the master negotiators not tired from road rage.
Exactly.
We're ready. We're getting everything together. Right.
Yeah.
It's different. But now I will say this, for those, if you're in this industry, like Krusty the Realtor, I talk about, it's not going to be fun for you. Yeah. It's not going to be fun now.
Well, we want that to happen, right? We want there to be a thinning of the herd, right?
Oh, it's going to. It's going to. It's called dues billing.
Yeah.
That's real. We are, NAR, the stats show what they're expecting, which has happened before. But one of the things too, I remember we went through the craziest market. This is nothing like this. When the market retreated, right? 07, 08, people were freaking out. It was worse, in my opinion. But I remember from leadership down, don't worry about everybody else. You wake up every day and you say, I hope they're okay because I'm going to be all right. And I'm doing this business. Goes back to the systems and the models, running it like a business, circling back around. That's part of the culture. Then watch this, when you're showing up, not as somebody who's talking about how bad the market is, but you're doing business, other agents, new and seasoned. I think this is the season of seasoned agents.
I agree.
Coming to KW. New is easy. That's low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
Them all day. They're going to look like, wait a minute, I'm over here freaking out like this. And Mahogany, Aaron is like, oh, life is great. We're doing
Yep.
business, what have you. That is where we represent and we offer an opportunity for ourselves. That's when we get into attracting.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
This is, I think, this is a time where they're going to flock to us because up until this point, you put a sign out, it's $8 million. Yeah, I know it's a shanty shack, but it's $8 million. Do you want it? No, move. Now it's skill based.
Yep.
Who has the best training?
Yep.
We do. They're going to come and say, oh, please, we need some help. And the difference as stakeholders, as agents in this company, are you willing to be the one that says, let me show you, let me talk to you, because they're coming.
Exactly.
They're coming, period. So are you going to take advantage of that? And it's not taking anything from anybody, it's what you're giving them.
Yep.
What you're giving them.
And Mo, we took over the industry, back when we joined because we were the first agent-centric company, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But the exciting thing about the moment, and this is a part of my class now, is that we've already evolved to the next evolution of the industry because now KW is a consumer-centric, agent-driven company.
Yes.
Right? Building the preferred real estate platform for all agents. And so what people need to understand is the fourth industrial revolution that we are in right now.
Come on, Aaron.
It's going to be 100% about the consumer experience. Okay.
Yeah.
For all my agents listening, I'm sorry. Your customers are not just going to be loyal to you in the future. They're not. They will, however, be loyal to the consumer experience and the price offer. And so what I love about the moment we're in, Mahogany, is that we have all these copycat companies that are aggressively recruiting our fellow stakeholders, right? And they, most of their narratives are, hey, man, we're KW. We're just a better version.
Yeah, that cracks me.
And then I say in my class, there's a great quote from Gary Keller. And I say, here's what Gary Keller says of those companies. We're not even the real estate company you're trying to emulate anymore. Okay. We're now a consumer-centric, agent-driven technology company now. So when we look at all these flashy new objects that are agent models, I mean, of course, who doesn't love the idea of making more money in revenue share off of profit share potentially? Okay. Who doesn't love the idea of 100% of your commission? Okay. But if you don't have any customers because you don't have the technology to leverage or the training and the support to help you service those clients, who cares what your agent model is? And I think people need to understand the moment we're in.
Yeah.
We're fighting for the consumer. Okay. Yeah. Everybody else is playing the agent game. And I'm just telling you, we're about to have a moment. Okay. We're about to have a moment. Now, before we go deeper, before we get off this call, Mahogany, real fast here, I want to ask you two questions. First question is, and say this in the nicest way you possibly can.
What are you saying?
You have seen KW working at the highest level.
Yes.
And you've also seen it working at a not so high level. Now, I know you're in the Beverly Hills office, which has had a great turnaround the last couple of years when it comes to profit share. Mm-hmm. But what do you think is the greatest challenge for our market centers? And a lot of them are, the West Coast is, a little bit behind the East Coast. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you think is the most important thing that these market centers out, that are not profitable right now, that want to turn them around, that want to be more profitable? What's the biggest challenge for them? Or what do you, if you could have the mic and say, look, guys, if all we did was one or two things, we could get this thing turned around and make these market centers a lot more profitable. From your unique perspective, what do you think the pain gap what's the pain that needs to be filled right now out in these market centers that maybe are not as profitable as they should be?
Since I've had that hat on,
yeah.
I think, because remember, from productivity coach to
of course.
I think it boils down. It's nothing new under the sun. It is what value are you creating, and it boils down to that calendar, friends.
Yeah.
What are you training? How are you training the folks?
Right.
And one of the things that we used to be worried about was all the training was towards just new agents. No, you have to hit each level of production. Even someone on the ALC has a desire to elevate. So it is about truly living up to what we say. It's the training. I am one of those that believe there's certain classes must be consistent, no excuses.
Yep.
Number one, thank you to the McKissicks, because now you don't have to tell the story about profit share.
Yep.
Got it for you.
Yep.
Take advantage. Make sure it's on there so people can understand what we're talking about. I think 6 personal perspectives every month, period, every month. And then literally a truly robust, basic, how can we get to the check classes? Because that's what people care about.
Yeah.
It matters. It matters. And consistency.
Yeah, totally. Show up. And, you know, I heard a great saying once, people leave KW for the same reason they join. So if price is your value proposition, guess what? There's going to be a better price proposition coming along down the road. If your value proposition is culture and you don't deliver on it, or if your value proposition is training and you don't deliver on it, they're going to leave your office for a company that does. Right.
You cannot be a fraud. The agents are our consumers.
Right.
As sinners.
And Mo, I say it in my class today. I'm not loyal to KW. I'm not. I know you say unrecruitable. I'm not unrecruitable. Okay. Now I'm highly vested in profit share. And after these policy changes, from this standpoint, you're going to have to pay me some serious cash money to offset my profit share that I've built. But I'm just saying, I'm loyal to quality of life. Period. Yes. End of story. And if KW stops being the best place for me to build that, I'm out of here. Okay. And I hope everybody would do the same thing. Now, last question for you is this. I know you've made over 6 figures in profit share. Okay. Where is this going for you? I mean, I know you're still intentional about growing this. We know things happen gradually, then they happen suddenly. So you're about, you know, you're probably younger than me. I'm 50. I mean, you're probably younger than me, right? Somewhere around there. My point is,
little one.
No, you don't have kids, right? I know you love to travel. I love my Mo pictures from all around the world. But talk about the next phase of profit share building for you and what it's going to do for you personally, your legacy, and then we'll wrap this up. All right.
All right. You're right. I have a lot of fun traveling and all of that. And years ago, it was told to me at a certain point, it stops being about you. So I've done all the fun stuff, right? The checks increased from when I could buy a nice steak dinner to when I could buy somebody else's steak dinner to when I could pay for trips.
Yep.
For me now, it goes down to, again, my legacy. I am focused on the fact that I feel like I will have mattered when I help change lives.
Yeah.
And that's just, I always wanted to be a parent. It didn't happen for me. So now associates, new agents, children and their families are my families.
I love that.
And so now that I'm no longer officially in leadership, I'm an active agent again. I've redirected my focus to literally, like you, preaching it on the road. Yep. Because I do believe Keller Williams is the best place to learn how to be the best agent and to also learn how to build the best business. And of course, the gift of profit share, the 401 plan. And so now that has become part of my 135. That's part of my plan. I would imagine my time in Keller Williams is probably winding down.
Really?
Darling, I'm 58, baby.
Oh, girl. They say, come on. I never knew you were 58, girl. You look good. You look real good.
The banana pill to 59. Deal with me. And I'm very blessed. My parents are, 86 and 89. But when they're gone, it's just me.
Yeah.
Just me. And I have plans to live by an island. I'll probably be sending smoke signals to you.
I love it.
So twofold. Number one, continue to build this so it's something in place that will add to the fund of my life. But also, again, when it's all said and done, right, and the other side of my dash is concluded, how many lives have I helped get better? That's how serious it is to me.
I have a feeling it's going to be standing room only at your funeral. And I don't know if that's a positive thing to say or not, but all I know, Mo, is that you've impacted my life. You are such a special person in my life. You are the person that I sometimes talk to when I need to vent. Sometimes we go off the rails a little bit.
It's okay. It's a safe space.
No, but I feel like you and I have brought ourselves back, from the brink of insanity and frustration to now back to, hey, I want to be a part of the positive change. I want to impact people's lives. And Mo, I can't thank you enough for not just taking your time today, but for all you do, for KW, for your market centers. A lot of that stuff people don't know about, they don't see, but I know that every day you show up and you show out for your fellow KW stakeholders. And I have a feeling there's some other opportunities that you might not be aware of that will find their way to you within KW before you decide to take your early retirement. So Mo, I love you. Am I going to see you in Vegas this year?
Heck yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you a big hug when I see you, but you're my girl. I love you. And thank you again for spending time with us today. All right.
Absolutely. And thank you for making sure this story gets out.
Of course. Hey, Mo, I'm just taking ownership of this real estate company. I got a huge financial stake in.
I love it.
People listening will do the same. All right, Mo. Love you, girl. We'll talk soon.
Bye, darling.